the podcast, so we'll get to that.
Perfect.
But we'll before we do that, we'll go to Sue for a bit of commentary. Hopefully, she doesn't say anything racist or sexist. Sue tends to do when she comes on here.
I am not a sexist or racist person. I don't get it. I am literally the most like liberal person in terms of like, yeah, all humans are racially, metaphysically equal, and we should all love each other. Like, I am not a racist person. I do think we are all metaphysically equal based on gender and race, everyone. Anyways, that being said, I was actually, I mean, if it's okay, I would like to.
I hate Turkish people.
Okay, well, you know what?
Now let me talk about the blacks.
Yeah, let's get to the topic. Anyways, I did want to talk about, take 3 minutes if it's okay, how I think, unironically, poor people are slave owners in the US, and we do live in a system of slavery, which might be another offensive topic, but I don't think you guys specifically care about that. I want to talk about the poverty thing. Absolutely, poverty is a starting stage. Like, why do you fucking ask? I was like, why are people? It's because you are choosing to not produce, and you can't become wealthy without producing. Right now, we have a system of slavery in the U.S. through the government, because it benefits the government to have that. Poor people are enslaving the middle class and rich people. I am a slave. Why? I am being forced. I'm under involuntary servitude, working for people who take the money away from me, and they're continuing to vote and support for these systems. How do we statistically support it? Poor people in the U.S., not more than 90% of them who are officially recognized by poor by U.S. data by being under the poverty line, they get way more government funding than they pay into the system. Now, I don't think you should all pay into the system, right? But you shouldn't take from the system at all, especially if that's the case. This is not like a rent situation where she takes welfare when she's like about to die and she has paid like insane amount of taxes her whole life, right? They are actively stealing money. I pay way more in taxes than what the system gives me because I don't qualify for any fucking benefit of welfare. I am literally a slave. Okay, we have a system of slavery where I'm working my ass off. Middle class and rich people are working their ass off as productive people, and America literally still practices slavery through this. And people keep talking about race and women for this and blacks do this. And it's like, we're not talking about the real demographic that matters, where systematic institutional oppression exists. I'm going to use all the left-wing buzzwords, which is the systematic institutional oppression of poor people that are imposing against the productive members, entrepreneurs, and workers of the society. Nobody ever talks about this. And it's a cope. Some people say like left anarchists say, oh, people are poor because the government does this and the government doesn't. I do agree. You can't become poorer because of fucking inflation, and the government doesn't. You have to apply like for fucking 100 different licenses. But I will say this: this is for the U.S. society. I don't know like what the fuck you do if you're like some sort of European society. But I know the U.S. I know for sure in the U.S. even with all the government regulations or everything, you can be way above the poverty line without sacrificing your dignity. If it's okay, I'm going to give an example from myself. When I first came to the U.S., I had nothing but $50 to my name. What did I do? $50 to my name. Zula gave the Fabian example. I was also like homeless for a few days when I first came to the U.S. because I had to wait for my salary to arrive. I like stayed on the beach for like 3 days until I got paid. And I worked at McDonald's. I just like visited every McDonald's until they gave me a job. And then I worked as a second job in Burger King. That was my first 2 jobs in the US, like fucking McDonald's in the morning and Burger King at night. And like then I just grew my career from there. But you know what I didn't do? Like I didn't advocate like, oh, the government should give me welfare, or I didn't fucking become a criminal because apparently being poor just automatically makes you a criminal. Like what the fuck? The thing is, in the US, the system does not push you to become poor, for sure. If we define poor as like being in absolute poverty, the system does perfectly allow you to not sacrifice your dignity, do not steal from others. Dignity, I'm using objectivist terms here, it's like, virtue of honesty, being productive, not being like a shady ass Peter Keating person if you read the book. You can indeed do that. These people, poor people in the US, they don't work, first of all. Check the data set, 60% of the people under the poverty line in the US, they don't have any jobs, not at all. And the rest of the 40% is because they have very low paying amount of jobs, like part-time jobs, like not a real job, where they work like 5 hours a week and they have like a bunch of kids. They literally choose this. And so like I'm going to finish it in this way. Poverty is a choice, not producing is a choice. And because these people are literally dumb, retarded, and they're slave owners, they literally defend slavery, they want to instill more productive people. That's the same philosophy that makes them do crime. Because if you're someone who defends the idea that like, I should not work and I should support well, I guess I'm not going to, since you warned me on black people, I'm not going to give that as an example. If you're someone who thinks that everyone else should support your lifestyle because you make bad choices and now you have like 6 kids and you don't have any job, that philosophy that thinks you're righteous to do that is also the same philosophy that thinks you're entitled to steal from others. That's the same philosophy that thinks if you think you can steal someone's money, for example, then someone with that mentality can perfectly make the logical conclusion that that person doesn't have bodily rights, therefore they can rape rape them, right? Like, why wouldn't you already think the other people don't have any rights and property ownership? You can just take away what they have. So this is the mentality of poor people. And as I said, that famous people, you have the courage to hate rich people, but do you guys really have the courage and the integrity to hate poor people? Yeah, I'm done with my speech.
You know, it's
I don't do that very often, but I just wanted to do that for that one. That was a incredible rant. I'm very, very impressed too. And you managed to not say anything racist. You even stopped yourself from doing so. So all around, just very, very impressive.
I was about
Great
to talk
job.
about like Kusha and Taiwan, but I saw myself.
it is correct, and I think there's also a at least for a certain sect of them, especially the American poor, I think there's a connection also to pragmatism. Pragmatism, of course, being a very popular vogue philosophy in America. Where, well, if it works, it works, right? It is currently working for these people to be, in effect, leeches and get what they want off the system, and they don't get punished at all. Like, you see this with all, like, the thieves who will go in like places like New York. They'll steal like a bunch of merchandise, like $900 in merchandise, like right underneath the felony limit. And, you know, maybe they'll get arrested and they'll get bailed out. There's that one guy who committed like a dozen or so crimes in one day, and he just kept getting released over and over and over again to do more and more crimes. It's like, you know, in the mind of this person, well, it's still working out for me, right? And for the Muslims in the UK, it's a similar sort of story where they gloat often in their circles. They gloat that, well, these people are weak. They won't do anything to stop us. It's the mentality of a psychopath, right? The psychopath murderer, he goes out and murders someone. It's like, well, they were too stupid to not be manipulated by me, right? Psychopaths across the board say this, not just the murderers. They say, well, if I was able to manipulate you in that way, then you're so stupid you deserve to be manipulated, right? I wonder if there's some sort of connection between psychopathy and pragmatism. This is just off the top of my head.
There is something called Eastern cynicness. It's a Turkish word. I don't know if like Westerners have it. It's the idea that it's like an insult Turks use. Like, you think you're a great and smart person for like scamming and abusing the system and others, and you think like others are suckers because they have integrity. It's like, you know, like this is like a very common mentality in the East. I mean, I guess with like in general, like certain groups. I don't want to make it racial, okay? I really don't want to make it racial. But it is a common mentality with poor people that they think, if I don't steal from others, if I don't abuse the system, if I don't lie, if I don't cheat, I'm a sucker. I'm just like this idiot, naive sucker. And they're so intelligent because like I'm intelligent enough to fucking cheat the system as well, dude. But I don't, because I don't want to steal from others. Like, they cannot comprehend the fact that someone would not cheat and steal because it's against their values. They really cannot comprehend that.
And you can see the connection to high time preference and why this leads these people to be poor, right? Even if we didn't have like, this almost fictional adherence to the bad people have bad things happen to them. Even without that, they can see the high time preference. Well, I'm just going to cheat and steal and do all these things in the like they aren't projecting out that, well, this might have knock-on effects. This might have second-order consequences, right? It doesn't even enter the analysis. Like, no, you are a sucker if you don't cheat and steal and do all these horrible things to people.
Shout out to Zulu's alarm.
Yeah, it's my watch. It goes off at midnight.
Nice. Yeah, look, I wanted to jump in on this a little bit and just say that obviously I totally agree with what Sue was saying. It is very, very not an exaggeration to say that we live in a society where rather than the top 1%, obviously the common leftist talking point is that the top 1% are, exploiting us or whatever else, we're the victims of their oppression. The truth of the matter is that it's the bottom 1% of society that are actually tyrannizing us, because they're the people whose the entire system is built around trying to protect and uplift by any means necessary. And look, obviously, if someone is poor, we should want them to be uplifted, but not at the expense of, the health and security and safety of people who are productive. But the reality is that the entirety of our society is predicated upon, no, these people have to be looked after, they have to be cared for, they're our priority, those are the people that matter the most, rather than the people who actually produce the wealth that then could even be extracted via taxes in order to help those people. But I had something else I wanted to go to, but I honestly can't remember what it was. Do you want me to go to some other hands, or did you have anything?
I don't think that you're going to find like, a statistics paper which will properly attribute this. I really don't. It seems to me that you can draw the correlation, like, well, poorer places, they do indeed have more violent crime and so on and so forth. Then that begs the question, well, does the crime cause the poverty, or does the poverty cause crime? Pretty much universally, the assumption is that the poverty causes the crime. I think that's false. I think it's very clear if you think through through economics. You can use economic theory here. You think through, like, okay, well, what literally does crime mean, right? And what does it mean to be impoverished? It means that you aren't producing. And you can see that, well, the exact like psychological motivations, the philosophical priors that would be required to go into a life of crime are the ones which would lead you to be poor, that is, not produce. I don't think there's going to be necessarily like a research paper or anything that can really add much to that. You can draw all the fancy graphs you want. It doesn't. You can't have the cart before the horse. You can't have poverty causing crime.
For sure. Let me hit up the press, and then we'll go to ancap. Is Tony? The press, welcome to the stage. Please go ahead.
Hey, what's up? So, just one thing I want to point out when talking about the rents and landlords and whatnot, I think we can look to dunk on the Marxists is the very own Soviet Union and how in rural Russia the only ones providing actual quality housing was the landlords that they had, and that how shitty the commie blocks were, and how government provided housing is terrible now. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, because I mean, it is true if you detach the market from trying to provide some good, and you're not going to get people investing in new houses. Let's look at a house built 50 years ago versus a house built today. Like, it's night and day. You're not going to get your nice like Ethernet connection points in a house from 50 years ago. You're not going to get that. Right? Imagine the technological differences from a house 50 years from now. Like, it's going to be unrecognizable to us. Problems we haven't even considered solving yet will have been solved. So especially since it's exponential, right? So, and you're not going to get that if you have like government-controlled housing. It's not going to happen because, well, what is the purpose? What is the point to innovate, first of all? And where's the ability to do that innovation? How do you know that you're efficiently providing that housing? Well, you don't. All you can really do is go, well, we've provided enough houses for people. Well, did you do it properly? Are you using the proper methods of production? Unknowable, right? This is from Mises' economic calculation problem.
Press, did you want to come back in on that at all, or are you good?
I'm good, thank you.
Cool. All right, let's hit up ancap. Is Tony. Tony, welcome to the stage. Please go ahead.
I am welcome, I guess. Am I audible?
Yes.
So I would like to bounce back from what Zulu said, and so very based, by the way, that you stayed homeless and didn't become a terrible human being, And in my line of work, I unfortunately have to interact with people who are extremely poor, that is homeless. And to those people who don't know what these homeless people are like, they are terrible, they're disgusting, and they do not deserve to live, I want to say. No homeless people, like, really. I'm going to go as far as to say that. And
this YouTube stream is getting banned. Zulu's account is going to go away.
Well,
yeah, let's maybe put the kibosh on that one. Yeah, well, thank you for coming on.
Homeless people, personally.
Yeah, so
Anyway. We're all
The
just
views
here
of the
to
speakers
spread
are
hatred.
not necessarily the views of the host.
Indeed.
The thing is,
All opinions are the opinions of no one but the person who uttered them.
that's true. The thing is with these people is that, first of all, they come to you and they beg for money. They want to monetize their misery. They don't rely on other people's, like their integrity, their goodness. They rely on others people, their altruism. And they do that. Some people even give them money, and then they fucking steal. And then they have the fucking gut to steal. And after they steal, they come up to him like, "Oh, I am so poor and I will die. Please give me some money." No. Who do you think you are, man? Who do you think you are? Yeah, nuke them. Just nuke every single one of them. I'm done.
Thank you for that. Sue, please go ahead.
I think this whole thing comes from the societies, especially leftists, not understanding cause and effect. They do not genuinely understand that to achieve something you have to cause it. Things just don't mysteriously happen. So they do genuinely think when someone becomes homeless, they just do. It's just unlucky. That person is just unlucky. It's just mean. It's just so unfair that it
I
happens.
always used to say that leftists treat homelessness like a disease that you catch, where it's just like, oh, I woke up one day and I caught homelessness. No, if you ever actually met a homeless person, you will know very well why they are homeless.
Well, I actually think homeless people.
To be fair, there are definitely people who are temporarily homeless.
That's different.
Had bad things before them that bad circumstances that led them to to the point where they can't afford housing. Okay, that's definitely true. But
then a hobo,
the chronically homeless, the homeless person that can't for one reason or another get themselves out of it, that person you have to be hugely skeptical about their morals and ethics and why it is that no one wants to help.
Hobos, right? Those are hobos, right? They're actually the most privileged members of the U.S. society. Again, I don't know about Europe or whatever, Africa, Asia. Hobos are the most privileged. If privilege exists, hobos have it. They're actually more than privileged than your normal poor person on welfare. Why? They're basically immune to law. In the biggest cities in the U.S. and the most desirable properties and streets, they can do whatever they want. Cops never arrest them because they're afraid of public reaction. They can go to they can do whatever they want. They can harass you. They can pickpocket you. They can steal from you. They can attack you. They have complete immunity from society. They constantly go to hospitals and jack up bills and never pay for it because what are you going to confiscate? They don't have property. So we, as regular middle class, we're paying their bills because the hospitals are fucking charging us for their bills. And they are provided benefits and helps by charities or organizations and governments that no middle class person receives. Okay, if you're a homeless person, finding a job as a homeless person is way easier than finding a job as just like recent college grad in the U.S. right now. People are going to attack me for this, but it is serious. It's way easier to go to the government or to like a gazillion job replacement programs they have and get a job than being a young, probably young male person who's a recent college grad trying to get a job. How is this not like
you for these
the
opinions
most?
too. You're in a liquid Zulu space.
Yeah.
Everyone agrees with you.
Yeah, can someone tell me how is this the most privileged class in a society? They're even from law. They're given money. They're given a privileged society, and nobody touches them. Nobody criticizes them, and criticizing them means immediate social destruction.
Yes. On that, I mean, given that we're in a fuck poor people space, I suppose I'm going to continue the trend. What you were talking about there with the legal immunity aspect, where basically if you're a long-term like petty thief or whatever else, you can basically get away with, as long as you are sure to not steal over a certain amount of money in any one theft, you can pretty much do it without any consequences whatsoever. So a lot of people will ask, like, oh, surely, ancap, law enforcement can't possibly work because they're, morons or whatever. Like they can't, just conceptualize it. Well, if markets work for, most things, why can't they work for this thing as well? But, I would say to people like, look, let's say you're right. Let's say that, a covenant community, like a Hoppian covenant community, is going to have inefficient, allocation of resources toward the production of law enforcement and legal services and whatnot. Okay, fine. Well, that puts it on par with the status quo, right? And more importantly, like if you look at the data, it is such a small fraction of the community that commits the overwhelming majority of crimes. It's actually pretty staggering. It's like
6% or 13%.
Well, even like correct. But even like at the tail ends, you have these people who like literally in a city of New York with like 20 plus million people in it, you'll have this collection of like 20 something people, 20 people, not 20,000 people, not 200,000 people, 20 people who are responsible for a significant portion of the crime because they literally do nothing with their day apart from just steal from people, and they're just rampant recidivists.
Yeah, that's the real meaning of career criminal, by the way. People think career criminal and they imagine like some mafioso or like some like criminal mastermind is like that's fiction. The real career criminal is like the most depraved, just high time preference, monster of a person who just bumbles around, has no impulse control, doesn't project out to this afternoon, let alone to 10 years down the line. Once they've done something, it's just out of their mind. They did that. Now they're walking away, and it doesn't even matter to them any longer. They just do crime impulsively. Those are the real career criminals.
Yeah, and so on that point, like, kind of connecting back to the ancap thing, like, look, I could make a society significantly more crime-free than pretty much any modern-day city, literally by just being like, okay, if you join this society, if you commit 3 crimes, you're evicted, okay?
I think somebody said like it was the 12 strikes and you're out rule. Like if you've got 12 strikes, then like what, or like 20 strikes and you're out. It's like, okay, buddy, like there's no place for you here.
It is like, and so to that point, it's like literally, if you had a policy where it's like, rather than 20 strikes, it's 3 strikes. It's like, okay, and not just like 3 strikes and we're gonna maybe punish you. 3 strikes and like you're out of the society. If you steal from someone, once it's like, okay, you made a mistake, or it was, I don't know, a rush of blood. Twice, all right, you're on your last warning. 3 times, nah, you're done. You're out of here. Like if that was standard for a community, the percentage of the amount of crimes being committed would drop so precipitously. You almost wouldn't need a law enforcement arm at that point, because the majority of people left would follow the law purely because they're just like moral and decent enough people and just not interested in stealing in order to get what they want.
Yeah, this is the lost art of exile. This is the lost art of exile. Correct. Is with exile, you put these people out into the frontiers. They can have their own pirate cities or what have you. If they try and pirate any of my boats, I'll send a missile their way. They can have their shanty towns, whatever. Don't care. They are out on the frontiers. Don't care about them any longer. Either they're going to get civilized and build up civilization on their own, or they're not. Either way, who cares? Where will they go? Who cares?
Isn't that what the British did with Australia, though? 100% of like literal rapists and thieves.
No, I mean my.
So yeah, like, this is and like the beauty of this exile system is that it creates basically like a Darwinian process for having law-abiding civilized people in your society, because the only people left are the people who are already doing that, and they must be doing something right. They must be raising their children some way right. If there's a fuck up along the way, well then that person has 50 strikes and he's out, or however the amount is, and then he's gone. If this person demonstrates that they don't belong in the society, then they're also exiled, and it just keeps going like that. I do also have